Hello and welcome. In this video tutorial, I'm going to update the Pacific Trails Resort website using the existing Pacific Trails website files from Chapter 6 as my starting point to create a new version of the website. Although modern CSS layout techniques such as Flexbox and Grid have largely replaced older methods, understanding foundational concepts like the universal selector and floated elements remains valuable. These techniques help you maintain legacy code, understand browser rendering behavior, and appreciate how layout methods have evolved. In this chapter's case study, we'll use floated styles on section elements to build a two-column layout for the Pacific Trails Resort website, refine the navigation, and adjust page content structure. This hands-on practice will strengthen your HTML, CSS fundamentals while giving you insight into techniques still found in many existing websites. I have opened my code editor, and I'm going to select the Chapter 6 folder. I'm going to right-click, and I'm going to select Copy. In this dark gray area, I'm going to right-click, and I'm going to paste. I'm going to right-click on this folder, and I'm going to say Rename. I'm going to get rid of the number 6 and the word copy, and I'm going to select Enter. I'm going to open that folder. I'm going to select where it says CH6 Pacific. I'm going to right-click, and I'm going to rename. And it's going to be CH7 Pacific, and I'm going to select Enter. The client has provided us with an updated wireframe sketch with new layout requirements. Our pages will have a top header section spanning 2 columns, and the header area text will be a hyperlink to the home page. We will update our navigation's unordered list, and we will rework the text on the content pages. I'm going to begin by opening up the pacific.css file. My first style that I will create is a universal selector. I will use the asterisk symbol, which will target all HTML elements. I'm going to go out to my browser window, and I have open the box sizing property. The CSS box sizing property allows us to include the padding and border in an element's total width and height. If you set box size border box on an element, the padding and border are included in the width and height. We want to utilize this property on all of our HTML elements. Let's add the CSS universal selector using the asterisk to match elements of any type. I'm going back to my Pacific CSS style sheet, and before the body element property, I'm going to add in some space, and I'm going to type an asterisk, which is above the number 8, so Shift 8, and I'm going to put in my curly braces, and then I'm going to go ahead and select Enter. The Emmet abbreviation for the box size property is BXBB, and then I'm going to select the Tab key. And the value for border box was added. I now have a universal selector for all HTML elements. For my wrapper ID selector, I'm going to change my background color from white to blue. So I'm going to double click on the letters FFF. And I'm going to type in 90C7E3. I'm going to cut the background image with the linear gradient from my body element. So I'm going to triple click on this, 1, 2, 3, and then Control X. And I'm going to go after this closing comment, and I'm going to paste Control V. This linear gradient will display behind the navigation area. I'm also going to add in a 1 pixel solid dark blue border. And I'm going to use the Emmet abbreviation, and I'm going to type in BD1 hyphen, the word solid, a hyphen, the pound symbol, and 003, and tab. I'm going to go ahead and change the body element selector, the background color. I'm going to double click on the value in the background color, and I'm going to type in EA, EA, EA. I'm going to remove the background repeats. I'm just going to highlight that, and I'm going to go ahead and select the backspace or delete key. And I'm just going to save my file, Control S. This border style gives my wrapper a 1 pixel solid stroke and a dark blue color. These styles will now display behind the navigation area. Why, you may ask, only the navigation section? Well, that is because the main element will have a background color of white. We will investigate that further after we add a few more styles to this specific CSS file. I'm going to scroll down to the H1 selector, and I'm going to add in letter spacing, and I'm going to want it in alphabetical order. So I'm going to add in a return there, and I'm going to type in LTS 0.25M and then tab. And then I'm going to make sure that I add in my comment and close that comment. And what that does is it adds in some spacing between these letters right here for the Pacific Trails Resort. I'm next going to add some styles to my nav element selector. This is the area that will float on the page. We're going to remove the background color declaration, and the nav area will pick up the background color of the wrapper ID. So I'm going to look for my nav element selector. It's right here. And I'm going to remove this background color. I'm just going to highlight it, and I'm just going to select backspace or delete to remove that. I'm going to remove the text align center. So I'm going to delete that as well. I'm going to set my font size. I'm going to go above the font weight. I'm going to add in a space. And I'm going to type in FZ120%. And I'm going to add in my comment. I'm going to add in a float. I'm going to do that above the font size. And I'm going to type in FL and tab. Add my comment. I'm going to change my padding to 1.5M, so 1.5M. And the last style is going to be a width of 160 pixels, so I'm just going to leave that at W160 and tab. And then I'm going to add my comment in. I'm going to scroll down to the multiple selector, homehero, yurthero, trailhero, and add a left margin of 190 pixels. After the height property, I'll type in ML190 and then tab. This sets a consistent left margin of 190 pixels for all 3 Hero ID selectors. In this project, the margin works in combination with floated elements to position content. However, it's important to note that layout floats are no longer a common practice in modern responsive HTML CSS design. Today, developers typically use Flexbox or CSS Grid for creating flexible, mobile-friendly layouts, as these newer methods offer better control over alignment, spacing, and responsiveness. I'm going to scroll up. I'm going to find my main element. And for my main element, I'm going to set a background color of white. So it's going to be my first style. I'm going to put in a return. It's going to be background BGC is the element abbreviation. It's going to be pound FFF and tab. So I have my background color of white. I'm going to add in my comment. I'm going to go ahead and after that comment, I'm going to add in a return. And I'm going to add in my margin left. My element abbreviation is ML190 and tab. I'm going to go ahead and add in that comment. I'm going to change the left padding to 30 pixels. So I need this to be 1 pixel, 20 pixels, 20 pixels, and then after this 20 pixels, 30 pixels. This is TRBL, so top, right, bottom, and left. I'm also going to add in an overflow of auto, and that element abbreviation is OVA and then tab. I'm going to add my comment in there. After the main element and before the H1 element, I'm going to configure a section element selector style rule. So I'm going to add in section, and the first style that I'm going to create is a left float, FL for float left tab. I'm going to create my comment, FL. I'm going to add in left padding of 2M, so PL, and then 2M is the element abbreviation, and I'm going to select tab. So I'm going to make sure that I add that comment. And I'm going to add in padding right, so PR, 2M, and tab. So I have my padding right and left of 2M. And then my width is going to be 33%. So the element abbreviation is W33, and I need that percent. I'm going to update the footer element selector, and I'm going to add in a margin left after the font style. Margin left, 190, and tab. Add in my comment. And I want to make sure that I have a background color of white. So I'm going to add in a return there and BGC pound FFF tab and add in my comment. I'm going to scroll up to the top, and we're going to configure our navigation section. And we're going to add in a Descendant selector to configure the unordered list and anchor tags with the nav element. After the nav A, I'm going to put in a return, and I'm going to type in nav UL. So we want to only target the nav unordered list. So we want to make sure there are no list markers. And to be able to do that, the element abbreviation is going to be LSTN. So list style type none, and then tab. And that's going to remove the bullet points. So I'm going to add in my element abbreviation, LSTN, and close that comment. We want a margin of 0. It's going to be M. 0 is the element abbreviation, and tab. We're going to want 0 left padding, so padding left would be PL, and then 0 and tab. Now I'm going to go ahead and add in some links. So I'm just going to cut this, Control X, and put this after the UL. And then I'm going to add in my pseudo selectors. So the first one I'm going to add in is the pseudo selector that's :link. And I'm going to give this a medium blue text color. So I'm going to type in NAV A::link, and then my curly braces. And this color is going to be C, and then it's going to be pound. Five, C, 7, FA3, and then pound. And the next pseudo selector is going to be for visited links, and it's going to be a blue text color. So I'm going to type in nav A visited, my curly braces, and the color for this one is going to be C pound 344873, and then tab. Add in my comment. And the last one is going to be for when I hover over the navigation hyperlink. So nav A hover. And it's going to be a dark red text. So it's going to be C pound A5 2A 2A tab. I'll add in my comment.
For consistent, reliable results, always code link pseudo-classes in the order :link, visited, hover, active, remembered as love, hate. While modern browsers are better at handling them in any order, following this sequence prevents unexpected overrides and ensures your styles behave as intended across browsers.
I want to configure hyperlinks in the header area, and we'll use the Descendant selectors to configure hyperlinks with the header element with no underline. So I'm going to scroll up to the top. I'm going to find my header section right here, and I'm going to go ahead and after this closing curly brace, I'm going to type in header A, and I'm going to add in my curly braces. And I want to make sure there's no text decoration, so I'm going to type in TDN and then tab. So this will make sure that there's no underline for my hyperlink. And I'll add in that comment. For my first link, I'm going to type in header A : link. And this color is going to be white, so C pound FFF tab. I'll add in my Emmet abbreviation, C pound FFF. So the header A link and the visited link are going to have the same color, which is white. I'm just going to add in a comma, type in header A visited, since they're going to be exactly the same style. And then for the hover, header A hover is going to have a light blue text color. So C pound 90C 7E3 and then tab. And I'll save my work, Control S. And I'll go back out to my, and notice it's already updated. Now, the other thing that you'll want to do before you go any further is you'll want to go out to the W3C validator, and let's just go ahead and validate our CSS. I'm going to go by File Upload. I'm going to browse. I'm going to go to my Chapter 7 folder, find that specific CSS file, open it, and select Check. And make sure that you have no errors before you continue forward with the rest of the assignment. I'm going to go back into my code editor, and I'm going to now open the index.html file. I'm going to put a hyperlink around the Pacific Trails Resort header element. So after the H1 element, I'm going to type in the letter A, and I'm going to wrap this in curly braces, the content Pacific Trails Resort, that's in my H1 header. And then after that curly brace, I'm going to select tab. And then this is going to go to the index.html file. And I'm just going to highlight this, Control C. I'm going to go now to my yurts.html, and I'm going to highlight this entire H1, and I'm going to paste. I'm going to save that. I'm going to go to activities and do the same thing. I'm just going to highlight that and paste, and I'm going to save that. I'm going to go out and test my work in a browser. I'm going to open up the Pacific Trails Resort, and I'm just going to refresh, select the yurts, and now notice that I have this hand, and when I click on the Pacific Trails Resort up here in my header, it's going to go to the home page. If I go to activities, it's going to do the same thing. Notice that it is now a hyperlink. So I'm on the activities page, and if I select that, it's going to go to my home page. So that's a nice feature. If I'm on my home page, it's not going to really go anywhere. It's just going to be to the home page. Let me go back into my code editor and continue on. I'm going to open up my yurts page, and we're going to remove the tags that configure the description list from the page. And we're going to make sure that the question is going to be in an H3 element. This information right here is going to be in a paragraph. I'm going to highlight that and select delete. And then I'm going to highlight this closing DD tag, and I'm going to select delete. So I'm going to remove all of this tag right here, the DL, and all of that. So I need to clean this up and remove the DT and the strong tags and the DD tags. And when I'm done, my page will look like this, and I can also get rid of this comment here since we're not going to use that anymore. So let's just see what happens if I type in H3 and I wrap this in curly braces, and then I select tab. I'm going to go in this empty space here, and I'm going to type P and then tab. And then I'm going to cut this, Control X, and I'm going to paste that there. I'm going to do the same thing. I'm going to wrap this in an H3, H3, and in my curly braces, and then tab. So that works. I'm going to put in a space, type the P for the paragraph, but I have to cut this closing paragraph tag, and I have to remove it, and I have to paste it below the word lodge. I'm going to type in the H3 element, and I'm going to add in my curly braces and then tab. I have to put in that space so that I can type in the paragraph, the letter P, tab, and cut that closing paragraph tag, Control X, and then P. Now the other thing that I need to do for this is I need to add a section tag. So what I'm going to do is, for this H3, I'm going to type in section, tab, and I'm going to cut this. And after the closing paragraph tag, I'm going to paste. I'm going to type in section again, and I'm going to cut this. And after this closing paragraph tag, I'm going to paste. I'm going to add in more space, section, and then I'm going to go ahead and cut this closing tag, Control X, and after the closing paragraph tag, I'm going to paste, and I'm going to save my work. So pause the video and then make sure that your yurts page looks exactly like mine. I'm now going to open up the activities page, and I'm going to scroll down to where I have the H3 elements. And I'm going to put in a return, and I'm going to type in section and tab. And I'm going to do Control X. And I'm going to paste after that closing paragraph tag. I'm going to type in section again and tab. And I'm going to cut that closing section tag, Control X. Go after the closing paragraph tag and paste. Type in the word section again. Cut that closing section tag, and after the closing paragraph tag, but before the closing main tag, save my work, Control S. I just go back out to my browser and I refresh. Notice that my section elements are now in columns as well. So if I go to activities, these section elements are now in columns. If I right click and I say inspect, and I come over to the far left corner and select the inspect icon, and I hover over, it's now its own section, and we floated it to the left, and we have padding of left 2M and padding of right, and a width of 33%. So there, this is what this looks like with the extra padding in there. And there is the width property that was also added. This completes the Pacific Trails Resort website utilizing a 2-column layout and reworking the text on the content pages to enhance your website pages. Thank you.